Hello my dear friends and welcome to StudyIQ. I am Joycey Joy and today in this lecture we will discuss about the bill against NRI husbands. Let us first understand what is the current affair. The union government is planning to bring in a legislation which will revoke the passport of the NRI men or the NRI husbands who are abandoning their wives in India. So many cases were reported, especially in the northern parts of the country, that men who are employed outside the country, we call them NRIs or the non-resident Indians, those who work and reside outside the country. So they are called NRI men, and many of them get married to women or girls from India, and these men take up a lot of dowry, saying that they are employed outside, they have a lump sum salary, and claiming that they are well settled. They take lot of dowry from this girl's parents, and after marriage they abandon the girls or their wives and they go back to their own country where they work and reside, and they never come back or they abandon their wives. So the union government is planning or proposing to bring in a legislation. So legislation means a bill. So a bill, and this is aimed at revoking the passport of this NRI men who abandoned their wives in India. So this is the proposal, and based on this current affair, let us understand what is this bill all about and what are the proposals under this bill and what impact it will make. Now let us first understand what are the proposals under this legislation. So firstly, the union government has proposed legislation which will prescribe punitive measures. Punitive measures means punishment or penalty. So under this proposed bill, it prescribes about punitive measures, for example, revocation of an NRI holder's Indian passport. So this is one punishment that is mentioned in this particular legislation. So such type of punitive measures will be taken if they abandon their wives in India. And also under this proposed legislation, if a NRI husband deserts his wife or if he abandons his wife and absconds, the court will summon the person. So once the court summons someone, he or she will have to appear before the court. So once the court sends summon order to that particular person, he will have to come back to India and appear before the court. And if he fails to appear before the court after receiving the summon order, his passport can be cancelled and his property in India can be seized. So these are two important proposals that is given under this legislation. So the court can summon, and if the person fails to appear before the court on the given date or the mentioned date, the law or the proposed legislation allows the authority to cancel the passport of the person and also to seize the property the person holds in India. And another important proposal under this legislation is the compulsory registration of marriage. So the law makes registration of marriage compulsory within 15 working days. And also the government has so far cancelled the passport of around 33 NRIs for abandoning their wives. So these are the proposals under the new legislation, and it aims to protect the interest of the women who are married to NRI men. Now let us understand how would this punitive action work out. So we have already seen that there is a provision under this bill to cancel the passport of those NRI men who abandon their wives. So apart from cancelling their passports, in some cases the bill also provides for the government to instruct the state police to issue a lookout circular. So government can instruct the state police to issue a lookout circular. In criminal matters involving the NRIs, the investigating officer can issue a lookout circular in cognizable offences when the husband from the overseas is deliberately dodging the arrest. Now again, an interministerial panel was constituted, and this interministerial panel consisted of members from the Ministry of Women and Child Development, Ministry of Home Affairs, and also Ministry of External Affairs. So these three ministries together, they had constituted an interministerial panel. It was constituted by the government and contained members from these three ministries. And according to the decision of the interministerial panel, the panel has decided to allow the Ministry of External Affairs in order to put up summons issued to NRI men who have not responded to the earlier summons on its website. That means the Ministry of External Affairs can publish or can put up summons in the website of Ministry of External Affairs if in case previously the court had issued summon, and if those NRI men have not responded to the submit, the next option is that Ministry of External Affairs can publish or put up the summon on the website of the ministry. And also the Passport Act, it contains provisions for cancellation of the passport of a holder if that person has received a summon from the court for appearance, and if he has or she has hesitated or has not appeared before the court on the prescribed date. So according to the government's official sources, certain provisions in the Passport Act would be amended in order to incorporate these changes to the Passport Act. So this is how the punitive action will work out in the case of the legislation. Now let us also understand what is the rationale behind bringing in such a bill or the legislation. So in India, there have been almost 4,300 cases of NRI men who have deserted their wives in India in the last 3 years. So this 4,300 cases are the reported cases. So there can be even more number of unreported cases. So in the past 3 years alone, there were 4,300 reported cases where the NRI husbands have deserted or abandoned their wives in India and they have left for another country after receiving a huge amount of dowry from the wife's family. And secondly, there is also an alarming rise in the cases that are coming before national and state commissions for women, human rights commission, etc., where the husbands have left out to another country after marriage and where they have abandoned their wives. The states that have reported the highest number of cases include Andhra Pradesh, Punjab, Haryana, Telangana, etc. And thirdly, in many cases, it was noticed that the NRI husbands, they would be sending divorce notices to the wives who live in India in the name or in the grounds of incompatibility. So those wives who receive this divorce notice from the NRI husbands who live in a different country, they are completely clueless on how to fight the case legally in the courts abroad, because they would be sending the notice or divorce notice from the foreign country. So the wives do not have any idea on how to fight the divorce case in the courts outside the country. Now let us also understand what are the concerns with this proposal. The biggest concern with regard to this proposal is that the cancelling of the passports would encourage further law breaking by this NRIs. It means that by revoking the passports as proposed in this bill, this will mean that the person is likely to remain underground or illegally in a different country, in a foreign country, in a bid to escape the law. So there is even lesser chances that the person will return back to the country if the passport is revoked. So this is the biggest concern with the bill. But even though the concern is taken into consideration, the bill is a very positive move because it not only provides for the revocation of the passport, but it also has a provision for seizing the property of the NRI husband. So this is a very positive move, and the seized property can be used by the government to provide compensation to these wives. You can find the PDF of this lecture on my Facebook page, and for any queries regarding your UPSC preparations, you can get in touch with me on my Facebook page or you can email me at joyce.studyiq@gmail.com. Thank you.